In 2011, Occupy Wall Street introduced me to the growing gap between our richest and our poorest. I saw these graphs with the wealth of the super rich skyrocketing, and everyone else's wealth burning up to fuel that flight. And I wondered what I could do about it. So I pondered and I stewed and I tried to come up with ways to lift people up out of the lower class, when I had a realization. I didn't want to help a graph. I wanted to help people. And unlike with a graph, when you're helping people, you don't need to define them by their income. If you had a way to really improve people's quality of life, regardless of their incomes, you can make a huge difference. And that's when I started learning about the sharing economy. Now, what is the sharing economy? There's not a lot of consensus on a definition, despite the fact that it's an increasingly popular buzzword, but I've taken to using an old concept to describe it. The sharing economy is what happens when you love your neighbor as yourself. What does that mean? Everyone loves themselves, in that everyone works in their own best interest. In fact, our economy is based on this self-interest. But most people manage to expand from, I'm only going to benefit myself and I'm only going to depend on myself, to maybe some close friends, maybe some family, them I can benefit, them I can depend on. But the people who power the sharing economy have expanded much farther. They use their resources to benefit their entire communities, and they rely on those communities to meet their needs. And this sort of interdependence is a scary proposition for people brought up in our culture of independence, but that hasn't stopped a lot of people, and a lot of people here in Rochester, from getting engaged in the sharing economy. Let's think of a hypothetical person, a computer programmer who writes their own apps and sells them online. This person has their dream job. They love what they do, but they don't make a lot of money. In fact, they're below the poverty line. This person can't afford an office, but they don't need one because they're part of co-working spaces where they can go and work with other creative professionals. They can't afford car payments, gas, a car, but they don't need a car payments, because they're part of bike sharing and car sharing systems that give them transportation freedom. You might think that this person below the poverty line would be food insecure, but they're not, because they have access to farm shares and public food gardens. And you might think that this person wouldn't be able to keep up with rent, but they can, because they're part of an intentional community, a group of people living together to live better on less. This person below the poverty line has a very high quality of life through the sharing economy. And these resources that make this possible are available here in Rochester. This is Rochester's sharing economy. It's bigger than I thought it would be when I first started doing this research. We have intentional communities like Ant Hill, Little Flower, Eco House. At the Little Flower community, they're not just an intentional community, they're a community hub. They teach classes, they host potlucks. One of the classes they teach is actually on how to grow and identify different fruits and vegetables, which they teach the neighborhood kids in their garden. And that garden was planted in part by a group called Lots of Food. Lots of Food plants gardens all over Rochester. They've planted 11 in just one planting season, and those gardens are mapped online so that anyone can go and pick food from them whenever they like. They're public, they're free. Some of them are planted at churches like the First Universalist Church or the South Wedge Mission, which also hosts the Rochester Free Store. The Rochester Free Store is exactly what it sounds like. Anyone can go, bring whatever they have to restock the shelves, and then they can take whatever they need, all for free. Another place to go and bring what you have to give is Rochester Greenovation. At Rochester Greenovation, they'll take materials up to and including an entire house as part of their green demolition project. And they'll take those materials, give them to their artists to upcycle into household goods and artwork. And these are just some of the larger examples of the sharing economy. The real foundation of the sharing economy are the smaller, more intimate examples, and those you can do yourself. The first thing you need to do is find out what you have to share. And we all have something to share because all of us in this room have too much. Our cars spend most of their time sitting in driveways unused. Americans throw away about 50% of their food on average. I know I have clothes I rarely wear and books I rarely read. We all have knowledge to share. And those are just the surpluses. The real secret of the sharing economy is that when you share what you fear you have too little of, you discover that the community as a whole has enough for everyone. Once you have things to share, you just need a group to share them with. And you can find these communities anywhere: churches, workplaces, schools, neighborhoods. And these places don't always feel like communities, but the actions of the sharing economy will forge a group of people into a community. And once you have a community and things to share with them, you just need to do it. Have a community skill share. Share your knowledge with the people around you. Or have a community potluck. When was the last time you ate with your neighbors? Or do you really need more than one set of tools for your whole neighborhood? Just take what you have and make it available to the people around you, and watch as the communities it creates create a better life. You see, the economy we have now is based on taking rather than giving, competition rather than cooperation, merit rather than grace, but this economy of winners and losers is looking more and more like a failed experiment. The thing is, economies are just outgrowths of cultures, and cultures don't change from the top down. Cultures spread from points of change, like ripples in water. Cultures change because people change. So if you're ready for a new economy, if you're tired of our old one, try loving your neighbor as yourself. Try being so generous you need to rely on the generosity of others. Try sharing. You don't need to wait on old and broken systems. You deserve better. We all deserve better.